YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. I want to do a quick follow-up video. I made a video about Centigors, and there was a couple of people who wanted me to test a couple of other things. And one of the comments that people brought up, it was the most popular one, was pretty much saying, if you have the skirmish turned on, the guys won't fire, and that's why your Centigors with throwing axes weren't firing. Okay, I think you're wrong, but I'll go test it just to show you. So here we go, got a Demigryph Knight with halberds, so yeah. Anyway, so basically what people are saying is if you have your skirmish cavalry on skirmish, even if they're on fire at will, they won't fire. So they were saying that if I clicked an attack order that it would work, and that's actually not the case. And the reason is because there is no fire whilst moving on this unit. They can't fire while they're moving. It's not the skirmish that's doing it to them. And then another person had a comment that some other people seem to agree with, which was, well, these guys are fast enough to where they can come up and they can fire and then run away. That's also not true, and I'm going to go ahead and prove that here to you. So here's Demigryph Knight. My guys are on skirmish. I click the attack order, and I may get one throw in here, but no, I won't. See, as soon as the Demigryph Knights charge, my guys don't have time to throw. The AI is going to charge my men every time before I got one throw right there. The last time I tested, I didn't even get a single throw. And the damage is okay from these guys, and you can see that if they had a fire whilst moving, see that when they throw, they get stuck there long enough that the enemy cavalry can get charge speed and catch them. Now, if these guys had fire whilst moving, they would be a supremely good skirmish cavalry, in my opinion, because of what other people pointed out, which is they have this rowdy, which makes them immune to vigor. And they also have these primal fury and other stuff that helps them out, so they would be extremely good skirmish cavalry. You can see right now they can't skirmish. They're being caught by a heavy cavalry. Now Demigryph Knights are a fairly quick heavy cavalry, but they're still considerably slower than these guys. And you can see here that the Demigryph Knights aren't having a problem staying at charge speed. And as soon as my guys get far enough away to try and throw their axes, the Demigryph Knights just charge again. And you can see that this is not possible. Again, I'll click another attack order just to make sure, show you, but yeah, so the Centigors with throwing axes are useless. Some people tried to act like they weren't useless. They are useless unless you're playing against the AI or someone who just really doesn't understand how to best these guys. Now you can see the Demigryphs, they're not even tired yet. Okay, I got ahead of them. Great, I'll throw some axes. No, I won't. And then see this, when you leave the skirmish mode on, this is eventually what happens as well. So again, Centigors with throwing axes, useless. There was a couple other tests you all wanted me to take a look at, and I'm going to go show you those real quick. One other one, I don't know if a ton of people was on this one, but I saw it, and they're like, hey, will an upgraded Centigor with great weapon be able to defeat a Demigryph Knight? So I've upgraded this Centigor with great weapon all the way to EXP 9. It's cheaper than a Demigryph Knight with halberd. Let's see how it performs compared to the standard one, which we tested in the last video. This is a fair question. I mean, it's probably not something you would think of or see frequently, but I mean, it's fair. The Demigryph Knight's that expensive. Will all the upgrades help the Centigors with great weapons? We'll see. I think it'll help them. I don't think they'll win. The Centigor with great weapons, for its cost, is a fairly effective unit. The problem is, even though it trades relatively cost-efficient with other units, it does not kill those units, and it still leaves what's left of those units on the battlefield. So see, only one unit model from the Demigryph actually dies here. Maybe two at the most. Yeah, one was all that died. So even though their health is way down, there's still 17 Demigryph Knights there. And if those guys rear charge you or get into your archers or something else, you're done for. And if they get after your lord or other key targets, and that was with an all the way upgraded Centigor with great weapons, so I do not think that they are a very sound option. I don't think upgrading these guys for the sake of facing, say, like a Demigryph Knight is going to be a good idea. Maybe there's other cavalry that, I mean, we saw that they trade fairly decent with Reiksguard. They trade good with Knights of the or Empire Knights. And I don't know about Orc Boar Biggins. I'd have to test that one, but anyway, let's throw in, someone wanted me to test the Centigors with great weapons against one of the heavier infantry units, and I want to say that I saw a comment that said that you can just charge straight into a great sword with the Centigor with great weapons and it will win without even cycling. if it does, that's a fairly interesting use, and I'd like to take a look at that. So, because that would be one way.
Centigors.
Alright, here we go. I am spreading my guys out a little wider than the AI. Let's see the kind of damage it's done. So Centigor with great weapons, exact same cost as a greatsword. The AI actually turns around here, so the AI is pretty stupid. They did do a considerable amount of damage on the charge, far more than the regular Centigor did in my test yesterday, and they are doing extraordinary damage to this thing in melee. They are doing really, really well. For whatever reason, the greatsword just almost seems to be helpless to inflict damage in return. So that is actually a really, really nice trade for the Beastman. Now that was a just charge right in and win. And now even if that unit hadn't turned around right at the end, you can see with how much health is left here, it was dead meat. So that's a fair result, and that's a good result. I wonder how far we can take that. Let's take a look at a couple of things here. So Centigor with great weapon. Let's switch over to vampire counts. This won't be a great example because usually the vampires have a lord that help with replenishment. I'm trying to think of the best way to show that. Let's do a graveguard. Yeah, you don't see graveguards with great weapons too often. You're mostly seeing these graveguards. So let's throw the Sternsmen because they're a very common graveguard unit. Sternsmen, where are they at? They're at 1,000. So right here, let's grab the Sternsmen. And let's get a Necromancer. And let's see, Master of the Dead, the Curse of Undeath, replenishes hit points. Greatly replenishes hit points. Okay, I'm going to just take away all the spells. And I'm just going to simulate the vampires having a lord there. I know that he has spells and he could technically cast those spells. I'm just doing this because a vampire unit without the lord there is kind of almost not even a good test because they get so much support from the lord units and it helps them with the replenishment. So that's why I'm throwing the Sternsmen with the Necromancer here. And I just want to see how this unit performs, and not necessarily a realistic scenario, but a more realistic scenario here. That way the Sternsmen have extra replenishment boost on top of their own regeneration. Let's just see what the damage looks like from these guys. See if the Centigors do as well. I mean, they definitely whip the greatsword. There's no question about it. Now, again, the vampires could use a regeneration spell like the Invocation to Heck, and you can see the Sternsmen perform quite a lot better, but still a pretty solid performance out of the Centigors so far. Because this is just a straight-on charge and fight, and this is with the help, of course, in melee from the Necromancer, which is significant. It's not an insignificant amount, but you see there that, I mean, it was definitely I think the melee of the Necromancer definitely played into that. Let's, again, this is going to be kind of hard to test without another human. Some people are like, well, why don't you use another human? It's hard for me to coordinate. Like, I don't always know when I'm going to be able to sit down here. One night it may be 7 o'clock. Another night it might be 9 o'clock. The times kind of change in the weekend. It just depends on when Matthew, little error / Matthew takes a nap. So yeah, I mean, it's just whenever I do my stuff, I can't always guarantee I'm going to have another person. So yeah, that's why I don't do it. And then when there's another person involved, it takes longer because you have to coordinate the two things together. So doing this against the AI may not be everybody's favorite or ideal. It's just the most efficient for me. Let's see if without that Necromancer, if they mop this fight up. I'm sure they will. That's still impressive because the regeneration on these Sternsmen makes them a pretty tough target. That is impressive. I think they're going to lose still because of the regeneration on the Sternsmen, but it's still a pretty impressive... most cavalry units just don't do this well when you charge them straight into infantry and leave them well, so that was still a fairly impressive performance. Not quite done yet. I know I have the loading screens in this time too, but it's because I didn't have time to edit tonight, so I'm just recording the loading screens and kind of talking through it. Let's do Greenskins. I want to see how they do against a Black Orc. Just out of curiosity. I mean, a standard Graveguard, I'm pretty sure that the Centigors would demolish it outside of it being very well supported. They definitely demolish the great sword. So, and they're a 1-for-1 trade when it comes to money, and they trade very favorably there. I say 1-for-1. They're the same cost, and they traded extremely favorably in the sense that they defeated the great sword handily. We'll see how they do against a black orc. I don't think they'll win this one either, but I just wanted to see, do they trade cost effectively here? Because the beastmen can't really face the black orcs with its own infantry very well. And if the Centigor's a good trade in the sense that you can just haul in and charge, look at, they're going to defeat this black orc, I think. They're at least going to make it really close. I think the black orc's going to win, but only just. Wow. They made that a pretty good fight, so that's also a pretty nice trade for the Centigor. So I would say the Centigor with great weapons has a niche as an anti-armored infantry type unit. Anti-armored infantry. Here will be another really good test. Charge defense against large. Now I can't promise the AI will actually brace, but let's just kind of see here. Can you just charge straight into a Longbeard and take them out? So if the Longbeard braces, I would think that's got to be a tough fight, but again, since these guys seem to kind of have their specialty against armored infantry the Dwarfs are, and they're not in very huge numbers, which could make this interesting. Let's get a good look at this up close, it'd be fun. Alright, Longbeards. They might have braced there. They still took a pretty decent chunk of damage. Centigors are performing quite well so far. The infantry always seems to start leveling out a little more later. But it looks like they're gonna probably defeat the Longbeard. It's gonna be close. The Longbeard trades a little more favorably versus, but it is going to get defeated, so that's also an interesting thing to know. The Centigors would be extremely good versus dwarf infantry, the Centigors with great weapons. And you would have a full mobility, and they're going to be able to just hit infantry head on and perform. So that is interesting indeed. So I think that this is definitely a niche for the Centigors. Unless you all disagree, I would say pretty clearly here that Centigors with great weapons are an effective anti-infantry, anti-armored infantry unit. So if you were going to be coming against the Empire, or I think against the Dwarfs especially, they would be really good. One last quick test, actually, because I just thought of it. Warriors of Chaos. Now, if Chaos was going to be going up against Beastmen, chances are they would most likely be bringing Chaos Warriors with halberds, which I think would absolutely decimate the Centigors. But let's just have a little fun here, and let's just say, okay, what if they did bring some Chaos Warriors with great weapons? Or just Chaos Warriors, because Chaos Warriors are high armor, and Beastmen tend to not have a lot of high armor, and a Chaos Warrior would be a decent unit against Beastmen infantry for the most part. I'm thinking Chaos, though, brings more halberds and other units. But anyway, let's just take a look real quick. This is just a curiosity thing for me. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure how likely you are to come across Chaos Warriors. I might bring some versus Beastmen if I thought the Beastmen player was going to come infantry heavy. Of course, if I was a Beastman player, I probably wouldn't come infantry heavy against Chaos, but let's just see. It looks like they're going to handily defeat the Chaos Warrior. I'll fast forward this one. Yeah, I mean, that's still an impressive result. Chaos Warrior is a very heavily armored and pretty defensive unit with decent stats. So for a cavalry just to charge straight into them, it's not going to be a runaway victory here. It looks like the Chaos Warriors trade a little bit better versus the Centigors, but they still get beat. That is just, that's not super common. So, all right, there you go. So that's what I've learned about Centigors. After a little testing, do you all still think I'm missing something? Is there something else I needed to test? Otherwise, I think that I can say with pretty fair certainty here that a Centigor with great weapon might be a better pick than a Bestigor herd, honestly. In certain cases, I think if you're going to go against armored enemy infantry, I almost wonder if they would be a better pick than the Bestigor just from straight performance, and you get the mobility to go along with. Now, the Bestigor have their own armor. They're not shielded, but they do have armor, so they will be a little more flexible versus missile fire. But it kind of makes me wonder, like, if you use Gorbel to take the missile fire and use like the potion of foolhardiness, Gorbel punches through the line, ties it out in skirmishers, and then you bring in a big Bestigor charge or Centigor charge. I think that would be pretty devastating to an enemy infantry line, so definitely a potential, and I may try that. Anyway, we'll test out some more stuff for Beastmen. Hope this helped answer a couple of the follow-up questions. Appreciate the follow-up questions, by the way, and the conversation. HeirofCarthage, signing out for now. I will see you soon.